Long ago, in a quiet village deep within the forests of Ghana, people lived simple and peaceful lives. Farmers worked their land from sunrise until sunset. Traders passed through the dusty red roads carrying goods from distant towns. And every evening, the elders gathered beneath the great village tree to share stories with the young. But among all the stories told in that village, there was one name the elders spoke with caution: Aku Sika. Aku Sika was known as the most beautiful woman in the village. Her long braided hair shone in the sunlight, and wherever she walked, people turned their heads to admire her. But beauty was not the only thing people noticed about Aku Sika. She loved wealth more than anything else in the world. Every market day, traders arrived carrying gold jewelry, bright cloth, and shining coins. They spoke proudly about the riches of distant towns. Aku Sika watched them with hungry eyes. She dreamed of wearing gold necklaces that sparkled in the sun. She dreamed of bracelets that clinked on her wrists. She dreamed of living in a house filled with treasure. But Aku Sika was poor, and the more she dreamed about wealth, the more her heart filled with envy. One evening, as the sun began to sink behind the tall forest trees, Aku Sika decided to take a different path home from the market. The path led through the forest. At first, the forest was calm and beautiful. The leaves rustled softly in the wind and birds sang in the branches above. But the deeper Aku Sika walked, the quieter the forest became. Soon, even the birds stopped singing. As the shadows grew longer, Aku Sika noticed someone standing ahead of her beside an ancient tree. It was an old woman. The woman's back was bent with age, and her eyes glowed faintly in the fading light. In her hands, she held a small clay pot. The pot shimmered with a strange golden glow. Aku Sika felt her heart begin to beat faster. The old woman looked at her and smiled slowly. "This pot," the woman said, "has the power to turn anything you touch into gold." Aku Sika stared at the pot in disbelief. The old woman held it out toward her. "You may take it if you wish," she said, "but remember this warning. Never use the pot after midnight." Aku Sika barely listened to the warning. All she could see was the golden glow shining from the pot. Without another word, she took it. When she returned home, she hid the pot carefully inside her house. At first, she was afraid to use it, but curiosity soon overcame her fear. She stepped outside and picked up a small stone from the ground. Slowly, she touched the stone with the pot. In an instant, the stone turned into pure gold. Aku Sika gasped in amazement. The magic was real. Soon she began testing the pot on other objects. A wooden spoon became gold. A clay bowl became gold. Even ordinary rocks from the road became shining treasure. Before long, Aku Sika's house was filled with gold objects. The villagers began whispering about her sudden wealth. Some said she had discovered a secret treasure. Others believed she had powerful magic, but no one knew the truth. As the weeks passed, Aku Sika grew richer and richer, yet the wealth did not satisfy her. Instead, it made her greed grow even stronger. Gold bracelets covered her arms, gold necklaces decorated her neck. Her house became filled with shining treasures. Still, she wanted more. One night, as the moon rose high above the village, Aku Sika sat alone inside her house, staring at the magical pot. The old woman's warning echoed faintly in her mind: never use the pot after midnight. Aku Sika glanced at the moon outside her window. Midnight had already passed. For a moment she hesitated, then she laughed quietly to herself. "What could possibly happen?" she whispered. She lifted the pot and touched it gently to the floor. At first, nothing happened. Then a deep, rumbling sound echoed through the house. The golden objects around her began to tremble. Suddenly, the floor beneath her feet began to change. The clay floor slowly transformed into shining gold. Aku Sika stepped back in shock, but the gold did not stop. It began spreading across the room like liquid metal. It covered the walls, it climbed the furniture, and then it reached her feet. Akusika screamed as the gold wrapped around her ankles. She tried to run, but her legs began to harden. Slowly, the gold crept up her body. Her arms froze, her chest became heavy, her voice turned silent, and within moments, Akusika stood motionless, a statue made entirely of gold. The next morning, villagers came to visit the richest woman in the village. But when they entered her house, they found only silence. Standing in the center of the room was a golden statue. The statue looked exactly like Akusika. The elders of the village gathered and shook their heads sadly. They carried the statue deep into the forest and left it beneath the ancient trees. But strange stories soon began spreading. Travelers passing through the forest at night sometimes claimed they saw a golden figure standing between the trees. Others said they heard footsteps made of metal echoing in the darkness. Some believe Akusika is still wandering the forest, still searching for more gold, and that is why the elders still tell this story to the young. Greed may promise wealth, but sometimes the price of gold is far greater than anyone expects.